Alright, this is my first game of Season 16. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a commentary over my laning phase on Aphelios. The matchup is Aphelios Thresh versus Smolder and Pyke. And the lane actually starts off in a pretty bad position for us, where we decide to cheese after Pyke tried something mid-level 1. And it ends up flipping on us because, well, you can see kind of what happened. Now, I could say I shouldn't get hooked here and I should be standing behind the Thresh, which is true. But I think in the moment I was between two minds. And I was thinking, I want to leave because we don't actually win this 2v2 like in an all-in. Because Aphelios is very weak, level 1 in an all-in. And I wanted to leave early. But then that ended up compromising my position. And there's one thing that I really want to point out for any support players that are watching this, is especially on Thresh, you don't want to be using your auto attacks for minion stacks that often because of the empowered order, right? You want to be using your empowered order for a trade first, and then deciding to order the minions. Also, small detail that the Thresh last hitting the two, we can go back to it, last hitting the two melee range minions here. It's kind of more beneficial to wait until the second wave to proc your Targon stacks rather than the first wave, because you can see now there's downtime. I can't hit any creeps. So him like cheating the push isn't really doing much. But yeah, we hit level 2 and we start zoning them. I'm just standing in between the wave and Smolder so that she can't last it. I see the Smolder walking up for XP, so I try fish for a green Q. Ends up missing. And now some missing pings go down on mid. Nothing too crazy. I do kind of miss space there and space a little bit too far forward. Let Smolder hit me. And then this is also a small change about the new season, as third wave is back to canon, no longer the fourth wave. End up landing some nice poke. Really easy trick is to line the champion up with the talents. Pyke goes in and I flash it, because the only reason he's ever Eing in like that is to try and E Flash me, and we end up picking up the kill. And then all I'm thinking in this case is I want to push the wave in and then recall. Smolder goes in for a quick trade, so I chunk him out. And immediately here, I'll pause. I don't want to take the lantern here, because if I take the lantern towards Thresh, it'll probably result in both of us getting killed with me being having no flash. So I decide if Warwick is going to go for Thresh, I'm going to split up and run up, and hopefully I'll have enough time to run towards my Trundle. But here, I end up fishing for a Q, and very importantly, when my gun switches to purple, I make sure that red is in primary, so that purple is fired on the caliber mark, and then I can execute him with the root. Now, small little mistake here, I'll rewind, is after I kill the Smolder, I should just run and let the Smolder die, let the Thresh die, sorry, instead of just hitting him. And this ends up costing my barrier. But you could say it's a worth trade, because Warwick ends up using his flash to gap close on me. So barrier for flash is like positive for me, but it feels like an unnecessary risk that I took. So yeah, Trundle's gonna try to fight the Warwick, but then Pyke is back in lane, so he can't really do anything. And this game, I am doing Infinity Edge first. I think with all the changes, Infinity Edge first has actually just gotten better this season. It's gotten plus 10 AD, and it only costs 50 more gold. You don't benefit as much of the crit damage, just straight off of the item. But the thing about IE is, like, the 10 AD is infinitely worth more when you purchase it, rather than the crit damage. Alright, and then here, we're just gonna chill. Since we saw Pyke roam up to mid, I know that I can play in front of Smolder's face and not give him any of this CS for free. We even spot Warwick on the top river, running over the new, I can't remember what it's called. It's like Phaelite ward that Tahm Kench has. Maybe I can show us. But yeah, The reason I'm not playing too aggressive here, and you could say I'm maybe even too far forward here, is that about 10 seconds ago, there's a couple missing pings on mid lane, and she had priority, so we just want to let this wave come in, but Thresh is a little bit too far forward and gets himself killed. Now, knowing the situation, Pyke's used E and Q, so he's on cooldown. I know I can grab these creeps without any danger. And I'm just waiting patiently for the wave to be pushed in. Now, after this wave gets crashed, you can expect the enemy bot lane to recall, because now they've got the kill gold, the kill and assist gold. So by the time Thresh arrives, I should be able to push the wave. But also, I'm thinking in this situation, if I'm going IE, I can't actually buy anything if I get this cannon wave. So I think to myself, with Trundle pathing towards bot, this is a great opportunity to just do dragon. I know he's still on Gromp, so I'm not going to immediately push. I'm going to slow build this into the next wave, and then look to take down the dragon. Pyke ends up ganking mid. I probably could have pinged more to kind of signal mid is in a danger spot that Pyke can roam. And this is a bit of a change of plans where I decide to dive bot instead of actually doing the dragon. And now you'll see it ends up being quite a risky play. Warwick's already here at the Krugs, so this is already not looking good. Taliyah's walling down. Unfortunately, I dodged the hook last second. And somehow, someway, only the Thresh is the only casualty here, and end up just spacing. But let's talk about how that dive could have actually been executed better. So I do end up completing the recall, but let's see, right? I have blue-purple, so I don't really have any trouble just like one-shotting the wave here, and I think we have enough time. But I think if we think about what everyone else's role here, is that Thresh needs to be the setup, right? He needs to lantern in Trundle, so we can do this play quicker. And he also has Hex Flash in the situation. So ideally, what this Thresh should be doing, instead of hitting the wave with me, because he doesn't contribute much to pushing the wave, is walking over here, over this wall, and threatening a Hex Flash over the wall. So if Smolder decides to stay in the position he is in right now, then he can Hex Flash and lantern Trundle over from the Tribush, and we can quickly snag ourselves a kill. And in terms of like what I could have done in this situation, is I probably could have pushed this wave a little bit faster. But without that kind of like insurance of like someone cutting off Smolder on the left side, then there's no real ability to kill him. I also think Warwick was just spotted just then, but no one really pinged it or reacted to it. So that's also all of our mistakes. So we're gonna run back to bot lane. You can see I'm quite far ahead. The CS is 54 to 31. I've got BF Pickaxe versus whatever Smolder has. He's probably going to have Warhammer or Sheen in terms of inventory. Smolder ends up showing mid along with Pyke. So I'm thinking to myself, alright, I got to push this wave. We can probably get at least a plating or two from the crystalline growth mechanic. I'm not going to take the lantern. But again, I have to be careful. I have to respect the fact that Taliyah can roam and she's got, you know, that passive boost speed. But we do have pretty good vision. So, with the wave being pushed in, I've lost my window to really hit the plates. So I decide I want to bush camp. And here's just totally my bad. If I had just flung out my ulti a little bit sooner, the Pyke would have died. Again, though, this would be a very easy dive 2v2 on paper because of how chunked out Pyke and Smolder is and how far ahead I am. Like, I'm upper level, I've got item advantage. But, again, we have to be cautious of what Taliyah is doing. She just has priority, and she has the capability of walking down and, you know, looking for a Weave's wall. That's why I'm not super committed. And you can see I follow up on the hook long range, but I'm not committing myself because my life is so valuable and I'm not going to give Taliyah free kills. So I end up walking up the river, get myself some honey fruits. And I'm just checking if Smolder's staying or not. And he decides to W the bush and stay in the lane. And with Taliyah and Warwick showing on the minimap, I know I can pretty much zone him, end up forcing his ult to secure the cannon. But he's going to lose the rest of this wave. And now, reacting to what's happening on the map again, Pyke is now showing on top side. He's headed towards either the grubs or top lane. So I start pushing this wave super quickly. And now this is the thing about Aphelios' weapon rotation as well. Actually, right here, Taliyah ends up TPing in. But yeah, with Aphelios' gun rotation, obviously we want red, white, then green. So that's why I'm getting rid of white first. So then I can deplete red next. And I don't know what this is. Taliyah kind of just flies in. We end up grabbing the kill. I kind of deduced that they probably have Pyke secured. And here's a little bit of a fail flash. I think if I realized Wei was coming in a little bit sooner, I would have kept chasing instead of backing off into the wave. and one auto attack would have been enough to kill the Smolder. So we're going to grab the last plate. I see that Trundle's doing the dragon, but I kind of decide to myself that he probably has it secured, considering that grubs were just taken, and everyone around bot lane is either recalled or dead. So no one's really going to contest him. We end up recalling. I've got my Infinity Edge, got my tier 1 boots, and I'm building towards the new item Hex Optics C44. I thought Aphelios might be one of those champions who could benefit off the item the most. I know it says attacks only, but with the way Aphelios' abilities are worded, right? With like the green mark and the blue Q, your abilities do weave in a lot of auto attacks, and also your ultimate, right? So that damage amp is still coming through quite a bit. And it's not necessary. Aphelios isn't a champ that's, too, how do you say it? That requires too much attack speed, you know? He's not too hungry for attack speed. So, not going Zeal item, not going Yuntal is totally fine. Here we saw Warwick just on one of those lane wards, so we're just playing safe. I guess one thing we can also discuss is, sorry to rewind, but when I'm walking out of base here, I'm using my red Q to get a little bit of move speed and cycle the weapons. And second is, I know that after Trundle is taking this dragon, he's probably gonna base because he stayed on the map for a really long time. And if we look at what jungle camps he has up, it's his Krugs and his Raptors, right? And he was pathing down this game. So it's very safe to assume that Trundle is going to open either his Raptors or his Krugs here, and I'm kind of on my own here, which is why I'm not pushing this wave. I'm not touching this wave at all. In order to just stay safe. And Smolder sort of auto pushes the wave with his Q if he needs to, if he wants to stack. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good as long as I just don't look for any fight here. And then you can see, yeah, mid is also pushed in, so there's also that threat of, Taliyah going for a 3 or 4 man dive down in bot. This situation, Thresh lands a nice hook. But I end up turning on the Smolder because I see the Smolder walk forward as the hook lands. So instead of tunneling on the Pyke, who has a dash and can go invisible to like negate my auto attacks, I just hit the closest target and nuke him down here. I mean, ult is just too late. If I was just a little bit faster, we could probably kill him again. So Pyke gets away with another escape death from the hook. And then, yeah, we end up blowing up the tower at 11 minutes. And I'm going to push in the wave so that it crashes into the inner tower and just mind the recall spot. I'm not recalling in this bush because there is a chance that Pyke could have warded over the wall. So I'm just recalling just outside of the vision of that potential ward. And yeah, that kind of concludes it. I'm going to rotate up in top lane. I'm mega fed this game. And pretty much I'm set up to carry and snowball from this point, right? Because normally we could go mid lane, but I think Wei is totally fine in mid and Tamken should be fine in the 1v2. So that's kind of why I decided to go top. And with Dragon in 2 minutes, we have enough time to blow up the tower. So yeah. Hopefully this was useful and you guys gained some sort of insight into how a challenger level ADC thinks, and maybe some Aphelios specifics as well. Let me know if you want more types of this content in the future.